Hey y'all, and welcome to our Thanksgiving Makeover collab. It's special to me because it's the very first one that I've got to host. So that was exciting. Now, if you hear something in the background, my grandson just woke up. He's trying to be quiet, best he can, for an almost 3-year-old. Anyway, the group of us, there's 9 of us, we've come together to lighten up some of your Thanksgiving favorites. Now, we've got everything from a meat to some desserts, and then all that good stuff in between. So if you wanted to, you could gather up all of our recipes and have one really nice Thanksgiving meal. Okay, now this is what you've got to do. You've got to go down in my description box and you've got to click on every link. I want you to go see everybody's recipe, but that's not all. I want you to meet everybody. We're a diverse group that has come together. We all have different personalities and our channels are different. Our content is different. That is what makes, to me, YouTube go around, is everybody just being their self, giving you who they are. So I don't want you to miss anybody. And this is who we've got, okay? We've got Joan at Joan's Pointed Plate, Denise at Dish with D, Kristi at Planning Us Healthy, Sandy at Let's Get Fit with Sandy, Robbie, FrekiFitWolf, Lisa from Dumpy to Diva 2018, Tracey, Trials of a Long-Haired Girl, and Maryfran, No Excuses. Show them some love. If you don't already subscribe, subscribe. If you hadn't subscribed to me yet, I'd love to have you here at my channel. Click our notification bells. You'll know anytime we upload something new. The things that we try to bring you, we do this for accountability. Most of us, that's how we started. But we love bringing you things that we think are interesting or helpful or useful or just fun. Sometimes it's just fun stuff. Everything does not have to be serious down to business. That's my channel. If you've been here before, you know that. It's not always business. The business of losing weight. Sometimes it's just a fun little field trip. It's a balance. And that's what I like about this group. There's a balance. You get all kind of stuff. So be sure, hit everybody up, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, if that's how you want to go. Comment. We love your comments. We appreciate when you take the time out of your busy lives to actually talk to us. We do appreciate that. If we miss responding to you, it is not intentional. Trust me, it is not intentional. We love our correspondence. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy everything that we have to offer you today, and I hope you have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. First thing we need to do before we make our casserole is we need to bake our squash and our sweet potatoes. Now, you may or may not have dealt with butternut squash before. I'm just going to show you one. I'm going to show you how I cut it, which is probably the way everybody cuts it. But just in case you're not familiar, the only other, and I had mentioned this before in one of my other things, the only way I had ever eaten butternut squash before was pie. And that was back in the early 80s when I learned about that, when I first got married the first time. His mama made butternut squash pies, and they grew a bunch of it. Lord have mercy, some of the best pie you've ever put in your mouth. So I knew butternut squash to be something you made a pie with and nothing else. Now, to lighten up this sweet potato casserole, I'm going to do half and half. As we know, sweet potatoes on the blue plan, the one that I'm doing, freestyle, has points. Butternut squash does not. So I'm balancing out the number of points that we would have to have by adding some squash. So first thing, I like to cut that little end off. Now, if you've never worked with a butternut before, they are tough as nails. Get you a really, really sharp knife. Get you a big knife. Don't try with some flimsy one. You'll never make it through. So get you a good sturdy knife. And I like to cut it like halfway. You see how it rounds up? I just kind of like to cut it about halfway. Okay. Now see, that's why you need to cut that off, because you need to stand it up. Now, halfway down this way, okay, those are the seed sides. We'll get to those in a sec. Now, these are the sides that we don't have to do anything to. So the first thing, get you a good full lined baking sheet. Don't put it right on a baking sheet, because I have found over the years, and trust me, I have baked my share of butternut squash, because you don't know how many pies we used to eat. When you made the pies, you didn't know how many pies you were going to get. So you just baked your squash. Well, she taught me to boil it. Oh my gosh. She would peel it, and that is a task, let me tell you. She would peel it, cube it, boil it, and then make the pie. And so over the years, I got to thinking, well, there's got to be a better way, because there's too much liquid coming out with the squash when you boil it. So then I started doing this. Now, that was way before there was any kind of internet or Google or YouTube or anything like that. So I found out that it worked. So put you some foil on the pan and don't take a chance of it sticking to one, because it'll be a bear to clean. So just go ahead and stick these cut side down. Now for the center, I have found a grapefruit knife spoon works beautifully, because like I said, it's pretty tough stuff. So just kind of get in there and round it out. If you can tell, see how it's stringy? You want to try to get all that, obviously the seeds out, but you want to try to, let me show you. I don't know if you can see those strings. You want to try to scoop as much of that off as you can. Now, see, that's a whole lot smoother in there. So I'm going to do the rest of this squash, and then I'll come back. Okay, now I got all the squash done. I meant to tell you that about 1 pound of squash is going to give you 1 cup of cooked. So my recipe is using 4 cups of squash and 4 cups of sweet potatoes. This is way over 4 pounds, but you know how they come, different sizes. So I've got about probably 5 pounds. I weighed it. Seemed like it was 5, a little bit over 5. But I'll just scoop it out, stick it in the freezer for something else, or, you know, put it with, I'll probably have some leftover sweet potatoes. We'll see. Anyway, put this on your thing, sprayed. Crucial. Water. It is 99% chance that it's going to stick to this foil. And we'll have to cut it off. Just kind of lift them up, let the water get up under there. But we can cut it off. It's no problem to cut it off. This helps it steam and not dry out. So I've preheated my oven to 350. I'm going to pop it in there while I wrap up these sweet potatoes. And then I'll bake them both at the same time. I will start checking it in an hour. Probably going to take an hour and a half. But start checking it at least an hour. Especially the smaller ones. See that I got them cut a lot thinner. May have to take those out earlier than these bigger ones. So I'm going to pop these in here and then scooch over here and wrap up some sweet potatoes. Okay, so the squash is done and the potatoes are done. The squash, all but 2 pieces, the thick pieces, took 1 hour. The 2 thick pieces, I added an extra half hour. The reason why you're looking at this beautiful shot here is I wanted you to see. You saw what it looked like when we put it in. The first hour, when those little thin ones got done, this was still water. 1/2 hour, that's how quick it turned. So be sure that you're checking on your squash. Don't just pop it in there and forget it, because that's what a half hour did. Plain, like boiling water, it was bubbly, to this. Now I'm going to scoot you over here, and I'm going to show you this one that got a little brown. I just want to show you right quick how easy it is to get that off, and for you not to worry about it if it does happen. Because I told you it will. If you got any fat ones like those, it'll happen. So hang on just a sec. Okay, now if you can see, if I've got that up there good enough, see where it turned brown? It's a little tough and hard right there where it baked onto the thing. Now, no sense in messing up a bowl. Just leave your baking sheet out here to put your peelings in. Now, if you want, you can scoop it out. I have found for me, if I peel it with a knife, I don't have as much waste. So just take, if you'll see how easy that peel comes off, and then that brown part is gone. Continue on down there, get that little brown part off. The edges, get just a little dried out. See how easy it peels off? So just do that all the way around. Then you are just left with soft peeling. This is 1,000 times easier than peeling them when they're raw than doing it this way. So there you go. We'll do all that to those, put them in the bowl, and I'll be back. Now that we've got all our squash peeled, we're going to blend it really, really well. If you have a KitchenAid, you can use your KitchenAid or just your electric mixer, but we want to make sure it is really smooth and all the lumps are out. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, get you a good sized bowl, because we're going to put both of them in there. We're going to measure out our 4 cups. Actually, you know what would be easier? If I use my 2 cup. I told you I'd have a lot left, but you know what? I think I'm going to be cutting it close. Just set that aside. Now, we just have this little bit left. Well, that might be good. Maybe another 2 cups. So we're just going to set it aside. We'll put it in the freezer. You might could use it to make you a, well, I would say might. You obviously could use it to make you a butternut squash soup. I have never had it. Therefore, I don't know how to make it. So we'll just set that aside. Now the next thing we're going to do is the exact same thing with our sweet potatoes. I'm not going to stand here and show you how to peel a sweet potato. Suffice it to say, we just want the sweet potato in the bowl. So I'll be back when I get all that done. Okay, I've got all my sweet potatoes peeled. I'm going to go ahead and mix these up. Okay, now let's measure out our 4 cups of these. Now, you can do this ahead of time and keep it in the fridge. Personally, I wouldn't keep it in there more than 2 days. That's just my preference. You may can keep it longer, but I don't think I would like it. One thing to know is the squash is wetter than these potatoes are. So if you do put it in the fridge, keep it separate from the potatoes, because they will water will rise to the surface. Not a ton, but just enough that you don't want it mixing in with your potatoes. So you can pour it off before you mix them together. That'll be fine. Now, if you do choose, let's see, I'm just going to add this to this, and maybe David will eat it with some butter or brown sugar or something on it. We will see. I will do something with it because I'm surely not going to waste all that goodness. As I was saying, if you do it ahead and put it in the fridge, I want you to warm it up before we do this next step, because I want the brown sugar to melt in it. So I let these get cool enough to handle, but they're still warm. I didn't scald my hands, but I left them warm. So if you do refrigerate it, just pop it in the microwave, warm it up enough, mix it together. That way this will melt. So I'm going to blend these together. Hang on. All right, now I got these blended together so they're good and combined. You don't want like pockets of taters and pockets of squash. You want it, good and mixed together. The only thing we're going to add is 1 teaspoon of vanilla, which, if you don't like vanilla, you can certainly leave it out, but David, he really liked that. Oh, it smells good too. Then the recipe calls for 1 cup of brown sugar divided. We're going to put 1/2 cup in the potato mixture, 1/2 cup on top. Now, packed. I want it packed because, like I said when I was doing something before, all the recipes that you see say packed brown sugar, and we want all the bang for our buck. So now let's mix that in. Okay, now this is what I want you to do right quick. Before you even mess with this, go ahead and take your beaters and rinse them off real good now, because we're going to use them for the topping. And if you let them sit, I don't want it to get hard on there and then you can't get it off really easy. Just a quick little tip. Go ahead and rinse them. We're going to use a square casserole dish. You can use an 8x8 or a 9x9. Honestly, I couldn't tell you which one this is. It's the Pampered Chef. Now, I'm using 8 cups of this because I lost my spatula. I tried it with 6 cups, so there would be a higher ratio of topping to potatoes, but that brought the points to 7, okay? These are not big serving sizes. You're not going to get a plate full of my sweet potato casserole for 2 points. It's just not happening. My reasoning is, first off, I'm not using artificial sweetener. You can see that I used the brown sugar. Like I said in one of my other videos, everybody does not have access to the artificial brown sugar sweetener. The white granular kind is, everywhere. You can get all kinds. The brown sugar is harder to come by. So I didn't want to limit anybody's access to a good sweet potato casserole. An 8x8 or a 9x9. Honestly, I couldn't tell you which one this is. It's the Pampered Chef. Now, I'm using 8 cups of this because I lost my spatula. I tried it with 6 cups, so there would be a higher ratio of topping to potatoes, but that brought the points to 7, okay? These are not big serving sizes. You're not going to get a plate full of my sweet potato casserole for 2 points. it's just not happening. My reasoning is, first off, I'm not using artificial sweetener. You can see that I used the brown sugar. Like I said in one of my other videos, everybody does not have access to the artificial brown sugar sweetener. The white granular kind is, everywhere. You can get all kinds. The brown sugar is harder to come by. So I've taken my personal recipe and I've lightened it up. Not a ton. Halfway. The way I had it, with butter and a whole lot more brown sugar and more pecans, it was 8 points for a serving. I got it down to 4. Alright, now we got this in our casserole dish. I'm just going to set it aside. I still have my oven on 350. You can cut it off in between to save energy, but for filming, I just went ahead and left it. So I'm going to set this aside, gather up my topping ingredients, and be right back. I have cut the topping back considerably from my original recipe. There is more sweet potato filling on the bottom than top. I tried to get the ratio better. More topping to, less filling. But the points went up a good bit, almost to the original. And if I'm going to be 1 point away from my original recipe, I'm going to use the butter, and I'm going to use a whole lot more brown sugar and a whole lot more pecans. So we are compromising, and we are using the exact same ingredients, just less of them. The serving is small. The points are, to me, good enough for what you're getting with, real brown sugar in it. I will show you at the end. I don't want to tell you what size the serving is right now. You might quit watching. I'll show you at the end. It's not bad. It's not bad considering you have a whole spread normally at Thanksgiving. 1 serving of sweet potato casserole, that's all you need. And then your little sweet tooth will be satisfied. So anyway, let's go ahead and mix this up. Now, we're using, instead of butter, my favorite, Country Crock Light. Now, I need 1/3 cup. And I am holding out hope that I have 1/3 cup left in here. Actually, I think I can get all the rest of it. I hope my husband doesn't eat any for breakfast. Of course, we do have regular butter in there. He won't mind using that. Yeah, that's good. Now, you see how soft that is, right? That's why we got to be careful with our next step. We only want to break this apart. It's already creamed. We don't want to cream it further. We're only going to blast it a few seconds just to spread it around. Now, that's all I did. That little bit. Don't do it anymore, because it will affect how your topping is able to be sprinkled on top of the sweet potatoes. The next thing we're going to add is 1/4 cup of flour. Again, very short blast. We do not want this mixture creamed together, because then we really will have a mess and it will not cover. And that's pretty much all I want you to do. Hold on, I'm making a mess. Hold on. Let me. So it's just a crumbly little mess. To that crumbly little mess, we are going to add, I'm making a mess, I'm just going to go ahead. The other half of our brown sugar. Hold on, I forgot to get my cinnamon. This is optional as well. 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you don't prefer cinnamon, then just leave it out. You'll be fine. Just a dash of salt, because salt brings up the sweet. Then I've got pecan halves. I didn't put a measurement in cups. I put it in ounces because we're going to crush them. You might not have crushed. If you have already crushed ones, I might have said, okay, let's use a half a cup or whatever, and they would pack in the cup better. These halves are not going to fill all those holes in that cup. Again, if our points say we get a half a cup, I want a half a cup. This is not going to give you a true half a cup. That's why we're doing it in ounces. Then we're going to crush them. So, close your ears. Okay, now, because we're being kind of stingy with our topping for this size of the casserole, I want them crushed pretty darn small. There's some chunks in there, but on the hole, they're pretty small. So you see how much farther those go? Now we're just going to carefully combine, and I mean carefully, because we want this to stay crumbly, and we want that butter and flour mixed throughout, because that's what's going to melt and give it its little crunch when it cools. But we want it sprinkleable. That's my new word for the day. Let me do a little test right here. This is a little test you can do. See, there's a little hunk of butter right there. Let's just kind of smooth it out. Do another little test, and see, it looks like everything is coated pretty well. Still crumbly. So I am making a mess, y'all. Now, use your hand because it's clean. You've been cooking. As evenly as possible, sprinkle this over the top. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you. I said I was going to wait till the end to tell you your serving size. Your serving size is 1/3 a cup for 4 points on the blue plan. Let's see, the green plan is also 4 points, and the purple plan is 3 points. On the purple plan, the one thing that does not count is the sweet potatoes. Everything else counts. So that's why it's still pretty high in points. The old casserole, we would not have to be so stingy, because there'll be twice this much topping. But I say a little bit of this to satisfy my craving at Thanksgiving. I can do it. I'm cool with it. I hope you're cool with it. I think if you make this, you will really like it. I'm not trying to sound funny or nothing, but it's just really good. Okay, now we've got to the end. Let's get everybody out. We want everybody at the party. I just kind of do it around. Now see, if you had mixed and creamed everything together, you would not be able to feel this entire top. Just trust me. We're going to stick this in at 350. We're going to start looking at it in 20 minutes. We want it to bubble and be hot. We want the top to, it's going to start melting and start turning brown. It's not going to be crispy in the oven. Don't wait till it gets crispy, because then it's going to have gone too far. It will crisp up as it cools. So when we get through baking it, we'll come back and plate it up and let you see exactly what you get. Okay, here you have the finished product. It took 1 hour and 15 minutes. If you can, I don't know if you can hear that, how it crisped up. Now, I told you a serving is 1/3 a cup. And I got to thinking about that. Yes, it is a small serving. You can double it, obviously. You can have You can have as much as, I'm not telling you can only have a third of a cup. You can have as much of this as you want. For this casserole and for the points, 1 serving is 1/3 cup is the serving. But you probably get that much, maybe less, in a piece of pie. So you're getting a piece of pie for 4 points. If you look at it that way, it doesn't sound so scrimpy. So it's all in the mind. Now, let's scoop out. Try to keep it. I was trying to make it pretty, but kind of made a mess. Okay, so here you go. I don't think that looks too bad for 4 points. That looks about like the size of a piece of pie. And your crust will be the topping. So, there you go. Nice sweet potato casserole for your Thanksgiving table. And I hope you enjoy it. And if you did, I'd love for you to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and even comment. If you make it, let me know. Thanks a lot for watching.